Hey guys, today I'll show you a zombie horror thriller film named Apocalypse Z, The Beginning of the End. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins with Manel and his wife were in a severe car accident a year ago. His wife died on the spot. Manel miraculously survived but had been slowly healing from the loss. One morning, the news was broadcasting updates about the TSJ virus, a highly contagious pathogen. To curb its spread, the European Union Council decided to close its borders. Speculation about the virus's origin was rampant, with many guessing it had leaked from an abandoned Soviet lab, though this theory had not been officially confirmed. Manel was unconcerned, as the news emphasized that the virus was under effective control in Spain. However, while shopping, he noticed residents stockpiling supplies, indicating that fear of the outbreak had already reached Spain. That evening, Manel's sister called via video. Her husband, who works in the military, had been ordered to relocate his family to the Canary Islands and wouldn't return for the foreseeable future. Worried about Manel being alone, she urged him to join them as soon as possible. The next morning, Manel packed up his only companion, a cat, and drove to the airport. En route, an emergency news bulletin reported that a new variant of the TSJ virus had emerged in the past 24 hours, plunging European authorities into an unprecedented crisis. Alarmingly, the new strain had a significantly shorter incubation period, with severe symptoms manifesting within minutes of infection. The primary transmission method was through blood contact, particularly via subcutaneous wounds or bites. Manel and his cat arrived safely at the airport, but unforeseen events unfolded. Flights were grounded one after another, and all departures were canceled. Shortly after, everyone received an identical text message, a government alert declaring a state of emergency in Spain. Some people, refusing to comply, attempted to force their way through, resulting in chaos as a security guard's gun was stolen during a scuffle. Amid the turmoil, Manel had no choice but to drive home. Traffic on the highway was severely congested, so Manel decided to walk home with his cat. By nightfall, Manel finally reached his neighborhood, only to find it sealed off and swarming with police, indicating that something terrible had happened. Sure enough, he saw his disruptive neighbor being taken away by the authorities. At home, his sister called again, informing him that the government was constructing quarantine zones to centralize residents. However, many in the military opposed this plan, arguing that concentrated populations would only increase infection risks. She urged Manel to stay home and avoid going out unless absolutely necessary. With little food at home, Manel ventured to the supermarket but was shocked to find the shelves nearly empty. He managed to grab 2 boxes of dog food to feed his cat. Fortunately, a nearby gas station convenience store still had some supplies. While Manel was preparing to leave, a bloodied gas station employee staggered into the shop, locking himself inside to avoid harming others. His arm was severely wounded from a bite by an infected person. The situation escalated rapidly. The once calm gas station descended into chaos as panicked chicken screams filled the air. Police officers protecting civilians were attacked by infected individuals who behaved like mad cows, ferociously biting their victims' smelly parts. Manel grabbed a water pipe to help a struggling officer, but the infected attacker noticed and charged at him. At the last second, a gunshot rang out, killing the infected individual and sending him to meet zombie Satan. However, the officer was beyond saving. Before taking his own life, he urged Manel to leave immediately. Having witnessed the virus's horrors firsthand, Manel fortified his home, enhancing its defenses and installing surveillance cameras at the door. That night, a military squad arrived at the neighborhood, tasked with relocating residents to quarantine zones. Manel's sister warned him not to board the military buses and to wait for her husband to arrange his transfer to the Canary Islands. Manel stayed hidden and narrowly avoided detection by the soldiers. A week passed, and the once bustling neighborhood had become a ghost town. With his food supplies nearly depleted, Manel had no choice but to venture out again. He searched several places but found nothing. In one house with an open door, he discovered an elderly lady in a wheelchair. The lady explained that on evacuation night, her children had abandoned her, never to return. Familiar with every household in the neighborhood, the lady helped Manel gather valuable items, including food and a motorcycle, which would enable him to search for supplies further afield. The old lady's company brought some relief to Manel's isolated life. Though Manel planned to stay home until his brother-in-law came for him, unexpected developments forced a change of plans. One day, Manel received a message via radio from other survivors, stating that the government's quarantine zones had been overrun. Survivors were encouraged to head to Arusa Bay, where they would regroup and journey to the Canary Islands together. Manel shared the news with the old lady, who refused to leave, not wanting to burden him further. Manel reassured her not to worry since he had a Tesla boat. The next morning, Manel informed the old lady to get ready for departure but received no response. When he went to check, the house was eerily silent, with a letter left on the table addressed to Manel, thanking him for taking care of her these days and wishing good luck on his new journey. A sinking feeling overcame Manel. When he entered the bedroom, he found the old lady lying peacefully on the bed, already lifeless. Saddened, Manel stepped out of the room, only to be tackled by an infected woman who wanted to have a zombie baby with him. The virus had made her incredibly strong and immune to pain. After wrestling their muscles fiercely, Manel managed to pin her sexy body down without mercy using a spike from the window frame. However, she ripped free and lunged at him again, still insisting on having a zombie baby with him. In a desperate moment, Manel shot her in the head with a harpoon gun, killing her instantly and sending her to have a zombie baby with Satan. The appearance of an infected person in the neighborhood made it clear the place was no longer safe. After careful thought, Manel decided to leave with his cat and head to the harbor to meet other survivors. On the way, he stopped by the quarantine zone to take a look. As the radio had reported, it was now a desolate wasteland, devoid of life. The journey was fraught with danger. While driving through the woods, an infected person leaped out of nowhere, forcing Manel to speed away. After barely escaping, he encountered another horde of infected at a makeshift camp. In the chaos, Manel's motorcycle hit a pile of corpses, throwing him off. Though unharmed, the bike was irreparably damaged without batteries. With danger closing in, Manel abandoned the bike and fled on his stinky foot. Fortunately, the harbor wasn't far. Summoning all his energy, Manel sprinted the final stretch. The infected trailed close behind, shattering the glass doors as they pursued him. Manel managed to slip into a secure area just in time to avoid their attack. However, the situation at the harbor was grim. While the boats lay quietly docked, there were no other survivors. The promised meeting point was eerily empty. With no other option, Manel decided to take a small Tesla boat and sail alone to the Canary Islands. Along the way, he saw overturned boats drifting in the water, likely the result of survivors turning into infected mid-escape, leading to tragic outcomes. That night, Manel's Tesla boat came to a sudden stop. Upon inspection, he discovered the propeller was caught on a pale, bloated corpse. Unable to proceed, Manel found himself trapped. Just as despair set in, a piercing light appeared in the distance. Manel waved his arms desperately, signaling for help. Soon, a larger ship approached. The captain was a foreigner, but one of his crew members spoke fluent Spanish. Before the outbreak, the man had been a pilot. Learning that Manel knew the direction to the Canary Islands, the captain allowed him aboard to act as a guide. Later that night, Manel spotted a small dinghy nearby. Its passengers signaled for help, hoping to come aboard. However, the next morning, Manel searched the ship and found no trace of the rescued family. When he asked the pilot man where they had been placed, he denied rescuing anyone and warned Manel not to ask further. Suspicious, Manel looked down and saw the dinghy tied to the deck. The captain's crew was rifling through the family's belongings. Realizing the captain was not to be trusted, Manel confronted the pilot man, proposing they find a helicopter he knew of to escape to safety. The pilot man refused and warned Manel to keep his head down if he wanted to survive. Left with no choice, Manel began planning his escape alone. Passing a white cabin door, he recalled seeing the captain's men acting suspiciously around it. Inside, Manel found the imprisoned father from the rescued family. The man's wife and daughter were missing, likely victims of the captain's ruthlessness. Manel tried to calm him while untying the ropes, but the man panicked, screaming in a chicken voice for the captain to spare them. The chicken noise drew guards who shot the man dead like a piece of shit. The pilot man arrived, intervening to stop the guards from killing more. A fight ensued, and the pilot man managed to strangle one guard with a rope. Now accomplices in rebellion, Manel and the pilot man decided to flee under the cover of darkness using a lifeboat. Unfortunately, they were spotted by guards. Gunfire erupted, hitting the pilot man, but Manel, with his protagonist's luck, escaped unharmed. By dawn, Manel reached the shore, found a car in a nearby parking lot, and rushed the injured pilot man to the hospital. To keep him conscious, Manel promised to him by saying that there's a helicopter at the hospital. If he holds on, they'll see the light at the end of this. At the hospital, Manel's fury boiled over as infected people attacked relentlessly. He emptied his ammunition in a rage before realizing he needed to tend to the pilot man's wounds. Inside the blood-stained building, Manel found a group of survivors hiding in the ventilation ducts. A doctor, a nun, and some children. They helped remove the bullet and stabilize the pilot man. Manel asked about the helicopter, and the doctor led him to the rooftop where he learned it was parked in the backyard. However, the isolation zone between the hospital and the helipad had long since fallen to the infected. To reach the helicopter, Manel would have to navigate through the dangerous zone. As he debated his next move, noise from downstairs drew their attention. A heavily armed squad was searching the hospital for supplies. Coincidentally, the leader of the armed group was none other than the ship captain. Realizing the urgency of the situation, Manel proposed leaving by helicopter. Considering the dwindling supplies in the hospital, staying there was no longer an option. The doctor and the nun agreed to the plan, deciding it was time to relocate. The explosion earlier had left the passageway covered in dust, forcing everyone to cover their noses and tread cautiously. A locked iron door blocked their path. Without hesitation, the doctor swung an axe to break it open. Unexpectedly, an infected staff member burst out from behind the door. The nun couldn't dodge in time and was tackled by the infected. Though Manel and the doctor managed to subdue the infected, the nun had already been bitten on the neck. Knowing she would turn in minutes, the nun urged them to leave her infected but still sexy body behind before walking away on her own. Manel glanced toward the quarantine zone where the restless infected were ready to pounce. Entering recklessly would mean certain death. Spotting some shelves nearby, Manel had an idea. By arranging the shelves in a circle, they could block the infected's attacks. Manel and the doctor shielded the children as they moved forward quietly. However, halfway through, the sound of the shelves scraping against the floor caught the attention of the infected, who charged at the noise. Thankfully, although the infected swarmed the shelves, the group inside remained unharmed. Upon reaching the helipad entrance, the pilot man and the children boarded the helicopter first. Manel and the doctor stayed behind to hold the chain-link gate, preventing the infected from breaking through. Manel used strips of cloth to tie the gate shut, and the doctor quickly climbed aboard. Just as they thought the nightmare was over, the helicopter system malfunctioned, delaying its start. As infected scaled walls and leaped onto the helipad, Manel had no choice but to fight them off. When he was close to being overwhelmed, gunshots rang out. It was the captain's group. They dispatched the attacking infected with ease, but their true intentions soon became clear. They wanted the helicopter for themselves. To stop the captain, Manel made a bold decision. He cut open the chain-link fence, allowing a flood of infected to rush in. Manel quickly found a safe corner to hide, while the infected targeted the captain's group, wiping them out. Seizing the opportunity, Manel climbed the ladder back to the helicopter with the doctor's help. The helicopter took off, soaring over the ocean. It wouldn't be long before they reached the Canary Islands. As they approached, Manel's phone regained signal. Moments later, his sister called. Overwhelmed with emotion, Manel exclaimed that he's almost there, but her response caught him off guard. Panicked, his sister warned him not to come to the Canary Islands and turn back immediately. Before Manel could ask why, 2 fighter jets whooshed past their helicopter. It was clear that the Canary Islands had also fallen. The story ended abruptly, leaving their fate uncertain. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.